Hello everyone, I am Margaret, ML GDE from Seattle. Today I'm chatting with Aakash, ML GDE from India. And hello Aakash, how are you doing today?
Hello, Margaret. Thank you for having me here today. It's exciting. I'm doing well. Thanks for asking. What about you?
Great, I'm doing very well and I'm very excited to be chatting with you here today.
Same?
So Aakash, could you tell us a bit about yourself, please?
Yeah, sure. So, hello everyone again. I am Aakash Nain. I am a senior data scientist at H2O.ai. I'm a self-taught data scientist and I've been working in this field of data science and machine learning for almost 6 years now. I am one of the Google developers expert in machine learning and JAX. I actively contribute to the TensorFlow ecosystem, especially to TensorFlow, Keras, and JAX. And in fact, I am also one of the maintainers for TensorFlow add-ons package. That's pretty much about me.
Great. Thanks Aakash. First question is, how did you become an ML GDE?
Oh, that's an interesting question. So, like I said, like I have been contributing to TensorFlow and Keras ecosystem for a long time. So when TensorFlow 2.0 came out, I thought that it was a good opportunity for me to contribute directly to the ecosystem. And I started creating tutorials in form of Kaggle notebooks and Collab to showcase that how can the new Eager API can be used to build models in TensorFlow efficiently. And I built a lot of notebooks at that time, and that gained a lot of traction. So Josh Gordon asked me to look at the GDE program and apply if I were interested in it. I applied to the program, went through the process, and if I remember correctly, in March 2019, I finally became a member of the GDE family.
Okay, March
Yeah,
2019.
it's
Okay, great.
it's been 3 years.
That's about that's about yeah, I became a MLGD in 2018. Yeah, I also worked with Josh on
Mhm.
TensorFlow tutorials.
Yeah.
So it was a great experience. So what do you like the most about the MLGD program, being a GD since 2019?
Oh, that's a tough question because like there are a bunch of aspects that I really like about being a GD. But if I have
Mm-hmm.
to pick one, then I would say the random interaction with the fellow GDs and the core contributors of the libraries like TensorFlow and Keras. Those interactions are highly valuable to me. Fellow GDs who are experts in certain technologies are always working on something. And for example, like you have been working on TF Lite for a long time. And if I am starting
Mm-hmm.
from scratch or want a refresher on TF Lite or want guidance on how to use TF Lite efficiently, what are the best practices? So instead of Googling them or looking around for resources, I can like set up a call with you and uh, take your guidance in that. So these interactions are far more valuable than anything else to me. Like this is what the community is.
Yeah, I totally agree because for me that's the also the most valuable
Yeah.
part. You've written a few tutorials for Keras.io, and what are the tutorials you've written, and what is the process like
Yeah,
writing for
yeah,
Keras.io?
yeah. I have written a lot of tutorials on Keras.io. So, for example, like I have written code examples for OCR. I have written code example for handwriting recognition, image captioning,
Mm-hmm.
WGAN, and CycleGAN. And contributing to Keras.io is always pure joy because Keras has always been my favorite API in terms of like high level APIs. Like I absolutely love doing things in Keras. So that's why like I keep contributing to it. If you ask me about the process, like it's very simple. Like there are three major steps involved. If you want to like contribute a code example, just figure out like what is the one code example that you want to contribute to. Once you have like
Mm-hmm.
figured out what is the code example that you want to contribute, just visit the GitHub repo of Keras.io and check the guidelines put by Keras team and adhere to those guidelines. Make sure that your code is following all the things that are there that are provided by the Keras team members. So make sure that your code is aligned to those best practices. Once you have like formatted your code, tested it locally, just push up PR. Once you push up PR, you get a direct feedback from Francois and the team, and that feedback is highly
Mm-hmm.
valuable. Not only like you are directly communicating with Francois and the team, you are actually learning on the go. So every time like I create
Right.
a PR, I am learning something new about Keras, even though I have been using it for almost like 4 or 5 years now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also seem to remember like Keras.io. There's also a GitHub, not just a guideline of writing the
Mm-hmm.
example code, but there's also a list of like tutorials that they are interested in
Mm-hmm.
people being writing for. So basically, you can go look at the list and say, "Oh, I want to write
Yeah.
for that," or you have your own list of interests that you want to write about,
Yes.
and you look at the existing tutorials, and it's not there, and then you just go ahead and write one for Keras.io,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. Great, great. Thank you for sharing about the process of writing the tutorial for Keras.io. And you are also a maintainer for TensorFlow add-on,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so tell us, what is TensorFlow add-on and what is the job like being a maintainer for
Yeah, sure.
TensorFlow?
So TensorFlow add-ons, as the name add-on suggests, is a package that contains all the extra functionalities that are part of the TensorFlow
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem but are not available in the core TensorFlow library yet. You see, like
Right.
there are so many innovations that are happening on a daily basis, right? And not everything can be added to the core library directly. Once
Mm-hmm.
it has been like adopted widely in the community, then only it makes its way to the core library. So these contributions are mainly coming from the community side, and these are
Right.
maintained by special interest groups which are known as sig add-ons. So I'm one of them actually, and for example, like I have contributed the galu activation. So
Mm-hmm.
when I added in tensorflow add-ons, at that time it was not part of the TensorFlow library, though it has been migrated yet. It has been migrated now, but at that time it wasn't part of the core library. But I saw that it is going to be big because language models were taking off, and so I added it there,
Mm-hmm.
and now it has made to the its way to the core library. And to answer your question about what it's being like to be a maintainer, it's all about fixing bugs.
Fixing
Yeah,
bugs.
it's all about
Okay.
fixing bugs, tracking issues, uh, uh, like laying out guidelines on how to make sure that the new contributors are not overwhelmed by the ecosystem. It's easy to contribute to the ecosystem, and like
Mm-hmm.
maintaining the source code. Sometimes what happens is like someone has contributed the code, but the code owner is not available at the moment. In that case, if something happens to the code, like if the code breaks, then it's our duty to
Right.
patch it, fix it, maintain it. So and we also like have to keep up with the release cycle of the main library, which is like TensorFlow. So all these things are the part of our job of a maintainer.
So you have a highly popular GitHub repo called Annotated Research
Mhm.
Papers, right? And it has like 2K stars already.
Yes. Yeah.
And you just started, was it last year you started it?
I started
That's
in
not long ago.
2020 actually, late to 2020.
2 years
Yeah,
ago.
2 years.
Okay, okay, great. So how did you get started and why?
It's a
Can you share with
it's a
us,
very
please?
interesting story actually. So as I said, like machine learning is a field that moves crazy fast, right? If you go to archive
Mm-hmm.
and look up the papers that are being uploaded on a daily basis, it's huge, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people like me tend to remain updated with the field, and I think like reading papers is one of those ways to remain updated with the field. So I do read a lot
Mm-hmm.
of papers, and I was before COVID I was actually doing that offline. So I'm that guy who like actually prints out paper and loves taking notes. So I'm more of a pen paper guy. But when COVID happened, I was stuck in a room. We were under lockdown, and I was not able to print out papers. So I started reading papers digitally, and that was my first time when I was reading papers digitally. It sounds weird, but yeah, that's how it is.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started it, I thought like, why not annotate these papers and put them in a GitHub repo, organize them so that like others can benefit as well from them. And that's how it started. So in July 2020, I bought an iPad and started annotating papers. And now the repo has grown so much. It has 2K GitHub stars, as you said. So I'm very
Mm-hmm.
thankful to the community who have shown so much of love to the repo. I'm still doing it, and I will be doing it. Let's see how it goes. Sometimes I annotate like 2 or 3 papers in a month. Sometimes it's just one paper in a month. It depends on my schedule. Like, because annotating takes a lot of time. You just don't have to annotate the paper. You need to figure out what to annotate and then summarize the whole thing in the end. So it takes a bit of time. Like reading paper is one thing. Annotating paper is a whole different scenario.
Yeah, I also started using like you in 2020. I started using iPad, the Apple Pencil, to like read the research papers. I also like annotate my. Actually, what I do is slightly different. I just randomly highlight the parts that's interesting to me. But in the end, a lot of times I will create a sketch note. You know, kind of like you, but you have to putting a lot of thoughts on like what to highlight and the notes of the highlighted part, right? For me, the highlight is just some part I thought is important. I will also jot down some notes, but in the end, I will create a sketch note of a particular paper. And yeah, it does take a lot of time because that's the summary part of what the paper is about, why this paper is written, what problem that paper is trying to solve, right? And what are the key technical areas, right? Or even sometimes what kind of model architecture or the data set in the paper is actually talking about.
Yeah, exactly. Like if I'm writing the summary, so what I recommend is, like, whenever someone is visiting the repo to read an annotated paper, I generally recommend that they start with the summary that is provided at the end of the paper.
Right.
So what I want is, like, once someone goes through the summary, that person should be able to connect to the whole paper, the annotations that are in the paper. So making that connect, it takes a bit of time to figure out, like, what do you want to annotate. Like it's not like you just start annotating the paper randomly, because again, these two, like the annotations and the summary, these two have to be connected so that the reader can actually link these two things. That's only when an annotation is useful, when it has to be interesting enough so that the reader doesn't go away. You need to make sure that you have the reader's attention for a long span of time. As of now, I have just put it into a GitHub repo. I am like, so I am restructuring that viewing format. I want a workflow where, like, you click a paper and it should be viewable in a browser itself. So, like, you don't have to download the annotated paper. But I am figuring it out how to do that. It's taking a bit of time because nowadays my schedule is very busy. So, but yeah, I hope to do it before the end of this year.
Right. So do other people also contribute to the repo as well, or is it still mainly you?
So that's
uploading your annotated PDFs.
Yeah. So I have gotten a lot of requests in this regard, like what if the community wants to contribute to your repo, and I have given a lot of thoughts about it. And in fact, I actually created a section where, like, all the community annotated paper will go. The only problem with that thing is, like, I don't know I would be able to review all the annotated
review. Yes, say that's a lot of work.
Yeah. So like going through the annotations, having that feedback loop, I don't know how long that process will take. So and I don't want to, like, commit half-heartedly if I am doing something. That's why, like, I have been reluctant in this regard to this point in time. But if I have put a section, I have given it a thought, and I think in the near future, maybe, like, I'll start allowing the community members to put papers into it, and maybe, like, we team up like 2 or 3 members who can, like, review those annotated papers, and then it becomes really easy. Yeah. Otherwise, like, it's very hard to figure out, like, who is putting which paper and what's the purpose of that paper.
Yeah, it's one thing for you to share your knowledge. It's another thing to actually have a platform where everybody share. It's a big undertaking. So you have also written a series of JAX tutorials. So tell us, what is JAX? Why is it important? And why were you writing all these JAX tutorials?
Sure. So JAX is another open source framework, and that is aimed for much high performance ML research and other scientific computing. and building things in JAX is very similar to building things in NumPy. So if you are familiar with NumPy, you would be feeling very natural when you are building things in JAX. And though it's very similar to NumPy, but you get some added benefits. So for example, you get automatic differentiation, and your code can run on accelerators like GPUs and TPUs, and your code can be compiled because it is backed by a compiler. So it's very, very fast. You don't have to leave the Python ecosystem for performance. So that's why I think I like JAX a lot, because it's simple, it's fast, it does what it does, and it does it really well. I would say, yeah, it does what it does, and it does really well. In terms of importance, if you look at the landscape of ML frameworks that have been developed in the past decade, right? So there have been many frameworks, and each of the successive framework has tried to address the limitations of the previous framework, right? But JAX is different. Like JAX has taken a very different paradigm. So if you look at the RNG design, like RNG design is very beautiful in JAX, right? If you look the ease of parallelism, it's very easy to do parallel things in JAX via VMAP, TMAP, XMAP, and the functional, pure functional things, right? If you are writing pure functions, the scope of making mistakes is very less, right? So you are writing a very good code. So, and there are other things as well, like you can just in time compile your code, right? So so whenever someone asks me about JAX, I only say one thing, that JAX is the best low level API that you can get. And I am saying this because I have used almost all the frameworks that have been there in the past, and I can confidently say that JAX is the best low level.
Right. And does it, so it's definitely great for researchers, right? Yeah. And someone write a research paper or write the code for the research paper, you write the low level code and explain really well. Does it integrate well with, say, TensorFlow core library, Keras, which is, high level API, and also TensorFlow Lite?
So I wouldn't say that it I wouldn't say that it integrates with these libraries. What I would say
work.
Yeah. So what I would say is, if you are developing things in JAX, right? It's more from a research perspective, but it's very doable that you take the JAX code, convert your model into a format that can be used by the tools that were developed for TensorFlow ecosystem, right? So for example, if you are building a model in JAX, right, and there are wrappers which can actually convert your JAX code into JAX model into TensorFlow model, saved model format. So once you have saved model format, TensorFlow serving doesn't care whether it is coming from TensorFlow or JAX. It's just a saved model, and you just serve with it. So I would say the interoperability between these two ecosystems will be bridged by these two tools that are available for both. We just need to figure out how to adhere to that common format that can be used by both.
So now we're on the final topic on diffusion models. So this year, the diffusion models have taken the generative AI world by storm, from DALL-E to Google's Imagen. All we can hear, on Twitter and the internet is the fantastic images and the videos or even music that get generated, especially after Stable Diffusion model got released last month, right? Yeah. So all we can hear about is
diffusion.
Diffusion models. So most recently, I also seen your tweets and your email about you started writing tutorials on this topic. Okay, just tell us briefly, what are the diffusion models and how did you get started?
So diffusion models are a new family of generative models, and they are very interesting. Not just like they can generate very good quality images, but from the mathematical side, they are very interesting. So, and if you want to ask me why I started this series, so the thing is I actually wanted to start with diffusion models a long time ago. In fact, last year, I was taking a look at the papers where diffusion was used, And I was not, and to be very honest, I was not able to grasp all the concepts in single go, and that was frustrating. Like, because I read a lot of papers, and if you are like not able to grasp everything in 2 or 3 reads, then it becomes frustrating actually. So
Right.
I thought like, okay, let's try to figure out some of the resources where can I actually go and read these small bits, and then come back to diffusion models. And I couldn't find any. Like, everyone was eager to like talk about diffusion models, but no one wanted to break it like mathematically, right? So when you like break down things mathematically, then the picture becomes much clearer.
Right.
So at that time I left it, and then when DALI 2 was announced, I think it was in late March or April. So when DALI 2 came around, I was pretty sure that diffusion models are going to be big. It is going to be a big breakthrough in generative modeling. So that's when I decided, like, instead of depending on someone else, let's just start reading about diffusion models. Let's try to figure out all the bits by myself, and then maybe like there are people like me who would be struggling with all these things when they would be starting with diffusion models. So instead of just like reading about diffusion models, I want to like read about it, write down about diffusion models, and share these findings with the community. That was my thought process. So when I tweeted about it, so Rishabh and Sayak actually asked me to collaborate, and like we then said yes, like let's do it in a collaborative fashion, and that's how the series was started. We have done 3 parts, but we are on the way to make at least 5 or 6 parts. And given this recent success in video generation, I think this series is going to be a bit longer because I know that there are so many things that I can write about. And so, yeah, it's good, but it's good. Like, we have put down the material for anyone to get started with diffusion models, and I'm very happy that we have gotten a very positive feedback from the community, and I'm always looking for feedback. If the community have any feedback regarding the content, please ping us, and we will take care about it. We will take care about it in the next releases or the next notebooks that we put up regarding diffusion models.
Yeah, that sounds great. I will, we talked about quite a few topics like tutorials to Keras.io, TensorFlow add-on, JAX tutorials, and, and the diffusion model. And I will add all the links to the show notes, to YouTube description, so that people know how to, reach you. And I think this is such an exciting topic, and I'm sure it will take more than just a few minutes to actually discuss it, right? So I would love to schedule another session with you and Sanyak and your other team members to dive deeper into the topic, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
We will record another. We will record another video specifically on this topic. So, thank you so much, Aakash, for chatting with us today. And if our viewers would like to keep in touch with you, what's the best way to like connect with you?
I think Twitter is the best medium to connect to me, because
Twitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm very active on Twitter. The only thing is, like, if you DM me on Twitter, so please consider that I will be replying with a delay because there are so many messages that I get every day. So I will reply for sure. That I can guarantee, but it might be with a delay.
Yeah, but if they follow you on Twitter, it's not just the DM with you. That's great. But they follow you on Twitter, they will see all the tweets and the tutorials you've written, the news about your annotated paper, etc. Right? Yeah. So, okay, great.
Like, you can say, like, if you want to figure out like what Aakash is doing nowadays in open source, then go check out his timeline on Twitter, and that would be everything.
The best way to see what you're up to.
Yes, best way.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that is great. Thank you again so much, Akash. And everyone, I hope you all enjoy my chat today with MLGD Akash from India. And please make sure to subscribe to our MLGD YouTube channel, and where you can watch more videos like this.
Thank you, Margaret,
Okay.
for taking out time to do this. It was exciting to talk to you. I really enjoyed it. Thank you again.